can get started.
Om Sagana Vavatu Saganau Punaktu Sagaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvi Navaditamastu Mavitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Sankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Mageshwaraha Guru Shashat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarubini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Karpanya Dosho Pataka Svabhakara Vachami Tvam Dharma Sambhuda Setaka Yasya Shreyasyan Nistitam Bhugitan Mai Shishyaste Maham Pam Prana Prapannam. Om Vangme Manasi Pratisthita Mano Me Vasi Prastithitam Avir Amedi Vedasya Manistaka Shrutam Me Ma Prahasihi Anena Aditena Ahoratram Sandadami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadbhaktaram Avatu Avatu Mamavatu Bhaktaram Avatu Bhaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Badram Kanne Vishuname Deva Badram Pashyan Makshabirya Yajatraha Tirairange Shushtuvarvam Sastanubihi Vyashesa Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastino Indro Vridishtave Vridishravah Swastino Pusha Vishvavedah Swastina Strakshyo Arishtanevihi Swastino Bragaspati Dharatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Aham Vrikshvareriva Kirti Prashyam Gireriva Purva Pavitro Vajaniva Swamatam Asmi Dravigangvam Savachasam Sumeda Amitositaha Iti Trishanko Vedanuvajanam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Narayan, Narayan, everyone. Thank you for the seva, Vijay. There's a little bit of need for more practice. Okay. So in the last class, we were discussing we were going deeper into the Asura qualities, right? So this chapter 16 is all about Daivi, Asur, Sampad, Vibhag, Yog, right? So the distinction between the Daivik properties, Daivik features, Daivik ways of behavior, and Asuric ways of behavior, right? And we have seen, in the first 2, 3 shlokas were all dedicated to Devi qualities, which we understand are what are inherent to us. But because of years of various behaviors, various habits, we have ended up collecting a lot of clunk and a lot of junk, a lot of gunk in our antakaran. And when that happens, then the asuri qualities start to manifest in us. So it's very, very important for us to constantly at all times remember that these asuri qualities are not our inherent nature. Our inherent nature is to display the Devi qualities, because at the very core, we are nothing but Vanji. And so all of his Devi properties are our natural way of being, right? But because of the dust that we have collected over the years, over the lifetimes, we have ended up with a lot of these externally acquired asuri qualities, right? So the journey, as we always say, is about not acquiring, but of giving up. And what do we have to give up? So we are getting really deep. After that, the rest of the chapter is only on the Asuri qualities so that we can understand, identify, become aware when we start to display those, right? And then be able to let them go. As we will read further shlokas today, I will again repeat this because it's extremely important for our journey. As we read through and we start to recognize more of these Asuri qualities, we will see a lot of them manifest in us. In fact, all of them manifest in all of us, all of them. Okay. Some we may recognize immediately because they are really at the fore. Others we will become aware of as we start to clean our antakaran, right? So we deal with the lowest hanging fruit first, and then you will start to see the next one, the next one, the next one, right? As we become aware of them and as we start seeing them inside of us, our natural way of being is what? Our natural way of being is going to be get upset, to get upset with ourselves. And when we get upset with ourselves, then our ego is going to transform and is going to take the shape of, I will never do this again. I am not this kind of a person, or I am this kind of a person, but I'll never be this kind of a person ever again. I'll never get angry again. I'll never drink alcohol again. I will never scold people again. I'll never, all of those things, all of these conversations when we create is nothing but ego. And what we have to do is to keep ego at bay because ego will never change anything. It will only transform from one being to another, from one quality to another. Okay? So we have to stay away from judgments. The moment there is judgment, there is ego. The only way to let go of these Asuri qualities is to simply become aware, is to simply watch them from a distance with no judgment attached to it. It's only in that space of non-judgmental awareness is there a presence of Ram. And simply by being aware, simply by the process of observation, slowly these qualities will start to loosen their hold on us. And they will slowly start to dissolve. And one day you will realize that you've gotten rid of that behavior pattern. Right? So this is very, very important to understand because what happens is that in most cases, we will just end up getting upset and then getting hold of it. And then our ego will come to the fore and we will say, now I will do something about it. You can't do anything about it. Your ego will never do anything about it. Your ego will only transmute it from one thing to another. And we all are in that rajas bhav all the time, where we are always trying to do stuff. We are always trying to, effect things. That is exactly what we have to stay away from. It's going to be very difficult when you're in a rajas or a tamas bhav to not do something about it. And that's just your mind playing games. That's what we need to control. When you feel that urge, also, when you start to see that conversation come up, observe that too. Okay, let it come to the fore. Observe how you behave. Oh, okay, yeah, I do that. And this is what's coming. And this is the urge I'm feeling. I want to do this. I want to create another list of to dos. I want to create another list of goals that I will never stick to for the new year. Right? So we have to stay away from that space. Just observe as these things come up. Okay. And a lot of times when we start this process of self cleansing, when we start this process of observation without judgment, right? The most important thing is observation without judgment. You will see a lot of trash come up to cleanse itself. And when that happens, you might sometimes see external environment go for the worse for that situation that you're trying to improve. Okay. For example, you're trying to improve relationships, or you say that I'm trying to like not be this angry person. I'm letting go. I'm observing myself, like how I am being as an angry person, and I want to now let go of anger. I'm just observing it. You will start to see that you might end up having a lot more situations that will create anger in you, right? So you will see more of that thing, exactly what you're trying to resolve for or observe, more and more of that will come up. If that happens, that you should actually be happy and grateful, because now you're getting more and more opportunity to observe, to bring to awareness, to watch. And so more of it is getting cleansed. At no point, so at all those points of time, be in that space of calmness and gratefulness, and know that Ramji is doing his work and is killing everything off. So that is the space we need to be when we um, start this cleansing process. And why am I spending so much time every the beginning of every class for this? It's because it's very difficult for most of us to be with ourselves. And because it's so difficult for us to be with ourselves, we are constantly seeking external aspects to keep ourselves busy. We are all extraordinarily busy people, always, right? There's nobody who will say, I'm not busy. All of us, this is the nature of Kali Yuga. We are extremely busy people. We have no time for anything. And even when we have time, we will find something else to fill it up with. Let's go meet this person. Let's go watch a movie. I haven't Netflix for a while. Let me watch that series that all my friends have been telling me about. Oh, I have to go and clean up my wardrobe. Now I have to clean my kitchen. Right? We always have things to do. Anything but for me to sit in silence and observe myself, to think about what I need to do, to think about Bhagwanji, to pick up scriptures, to do reading, right? We don't want to do that. That's because going down in the basement is a scary thing to do, because it's scary to see who you really are and how it is different from the image you have been projecting to the rest of the world. And it's very difficult for us to then deal with it because of the emotions it's going to create, right? So when all of that happens, if you are not holding steadfast to Bhagwanji in that moment, if you don't have that, then you are going to get blown away, right? Depending on what comes up, there may be situations where it may become more difficult. Like people who are uh, psychologically not necessarily 100% clear, they should never do this kind of an exercise without appropriate guidance. In our case, our guidance is given by our guru. And who's our guru? Guru is Gita, Gita Ma. So we have to hold on tight to it when we do this deep work within ourselves. It is extremely, extremely important. And at all points of time, remember that your job is to hold on to Bhagwanji. And holding on to Bhagwanji means watching with complete compassion whatever comes up. Be kind to yourself. Don't berate yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just know that Bhagwanji has brought you to this for you to, because now it's time to deal with this. And he alone will kill these demons. Right? This is very, very important. Otherwise, it can spiral yourself down into a space of feeling victim or in a space of feeling sorry for yourself, which doesn't help you. Okay. Now, with that long background on how we're going to, dwell into these R3 qualities, let's go ahead. So, in the last class, we understood how, and I mean, it's amazing how this was written like years and years, like hundreds of thousands of years ago, and yet when you read it, you can clearly see how the demons really talk, right? It's like super obvious. So he has talked about the attitude. The attitude of such people is what? Eat, drink, and make merry. Right? The way to think about it is they are always thinking about YOLO, right? That whole YOLO attitude, the whole FOMO attitude, that's their attitude to life. Right? You live only once and there's nothing else to life. That people are born out of lust and they end in dust. Okay, that's their general attitude. So do whatever best you can during this life, enjoy yourself, and don't care about anything else. That's so they're always constantly trying to increase the amount of time, resources, energy, everything goes into increasing their sensual pleasures. Okay, so that's the demonical attitude. And this type of an attitude spells doom for not just themselves, but for their community, their families, their communities, for every aspect, whatever they touch, it spells doom for them, right? Um, and these people have insatiable desires, right? They are hypocritical, they are proud, and they are arrogant. And these are the aspects that we will go deeper into in today's class. Their all their conversations right up to the time of their death is only about various aspects of sensual pleasure. What can I get? What can I acquire? Right? And we have read, Bhagwanji has made a promise that whatever is your last thought, that will be your gati after death. है ना? So whatever be your gati after death depends on your very last thought. And very next shloka, he tells us that the very last thought you will have is not something that you have a control over. In that last moment, that thought will be an average of all the thoughts you've had over your life. So if you've had thoughts only about sensual pleasures, about acquisition of worldly things, about material desires, then that is the last thought that you will have. You cannot say Hey Ram in your last moment if all you've been thinking about your next car and your next house and बच्चे कौन से college में गए, all of those thoughts, right? So, so demonical people are constantly only fully centered only on lust and how they are going to satisfy their various lusts. Okay, and for them, the end goal is be all and everything. It doesn't matter what path you choose to get to that end, right? So means are justified by the end. So they will seek their end goal no matter what. If it were dam, sam, dam, dand, bhed, I will get my goal no matter what. And then they justify it, right? So if it means that I have to get that next job promotion, or if I have to get something done, it doesn't matter if certain people get hurt along the way, if it doesn't matter if, people are like roughshod over, it doesn't matter if I have to like lie or steal to get stuff done. And the bigger the goal, the easier it is for me to lie. And then, we all lie to ourselves when we try and justify those goals in the interest of everybody. Right. So there are all these kind of little white lies that we constantly tell ourselves um, to justify the methodology we use to get to our end. This is all demonical way of being. Right? So this is where we had ended. So and one more thing that we had talked about in the last class was what is the that it isn't about what we do, right? It isn't about the yagya we perform. Uh, it isn't about what we put an effort towards. It is the purpose for the action that is more important. Right? And I'll remind ourselves of the example we had taken कि जब कृष्णा जब वॉर स्टार्ट हो रहा था महाभारत का जब वॉर स्टार्ट हो रहा था both Krishna and Arjun came to Bhagwan Krishna and Duryodhan and Arjun. Yeah, I don't know what I said earlier. So Duryodhan and Arjun both came to Krishna to seek something from him. And Krishna is supposed to be impartial, right? He's Bhagwanji. He's impartial. And he will give to whoever whatever they ask for, right? He is compassionate. He's loving. He's not a person who's out there to take revenge on anybody, right? We take revenge on ourselves through our own actions, not Bhagwanji. So they both went there, and Duryodhan actually reached first. And when Duryodhan came, he saw that Krishnji was sleeping. So what did Duryodhan do? He's like, okay, I will wait for him to wake up. And uh, he went and he stood next to Krishna's head, okay, where he was sleeping. So he went and he stood here. And then Arjun came later. He saw Duryodhan was already standing there and waiting for Bhagwanji to wake up. He went and he sat down near his feet. Okay, so this is first of all the difference between a demonical and a Devi person, right? One person is too arrogant to be near the feet of Bhagwanji because I am too arrogant and I'm like, I'm too good for this world. So why should I be near anybody's feet, right? So he doesn't have that sense of humility, right? So he went and stood next to Bhagwanji's head, and then and Arjun who is full of humility because he has Devi qualities. he sits near Bhagwanji's feet. Now, when Bhagwanji wakes up, he sees Arjun first and he says, okay, Arjun, ask me what you want. And then Duryodhan was very upset about it. He said, but I came first and you should ask me what I want first. And Bhagwanji said, but I saw Arjun first, right? Because he was right in front of me when I woke up. You are here. I didn't see you, right? So whoever I see first, I've already asked him what he wants. Now that made Duryodhan extremely agitated because like, oh my God, like Duryodhan wanted Bhagwanji's army, right? So he was like, oh my God, like now Arjun has the first choice and he will ask. What really ensued after that was that Arjun said, I want you on my side. Whereas Duryodhan eventually asked for his entire Sena, right? Bhagwanji said, I am on one side and the other side is my Sena. Duryodhan said, I want your Sena. Your Sena is like super huge and I'll be amazing. I want all of that. And Arjun said, I don't want your Sena. I just want you. Right? So, so this denotes the purpose between Devi and Asuri person. A Devi person wants Bhagwanji and his grace alone because he knows that the whole world belongs to कहाँ गया? Yeah, so because he knows that the whole world belongs to Bhagwanji. And everything I do, everyone I interact with, everything I can ever have in my life is all Bhagwanji in his various forms. So having him is like having the entire world, right? He understands this basic truth. So he will only ask for Bhagwanji at every situation, in every situation, and for his grace. Whereas the Asuri person who is very ignorant of the reality of this world will always ask for, he'll go into this shop and ask for this candy and that candy rather than saying, oh, shopkeeper, you only become mine. Because if I own the shopkeeper, then I own the rest of the world, right? I own the entire shop. He won't do that, right? So purpose is extremely, extremely important for all our actions, not the actions and not the results, right? So we'll start with Shloka 13 now. Who would want to read? Bhagyashree, do you want to read with us?
Yes. To maintain a show of respectability and to prop up a feeling of self-importance, such people use boastful speech of which the Lord gives a sample.
We'll read both the shlokas together. Okay. Idam madhya maya labdham.
Idam madhya maya labdham.
Imam prapsye manoratham.
Imam prapya se manoratham.
Idam astidamapi me.
Idam asti na papi mapi me.
Idam astidamapi me.
Idam asti damapi me.
Bhavishyati punardhanam.
Bhavishyati punardhanam.
Asau maya hatah shatru.
Asau maya hata shatru.
Anishye chaparaanapi.
Hanishye chaparanapi.
Arhanishye chaparaanapi.
Arhanishye chaparanapi.
Ishvaroham aham bhogi.
Ishvaroham aham bhogi.
Siddhoham balavan sukhi.
Siddhoham balavan sukhi. They say, I have achieved this today and would fulfill my desires. This much is in hand, and again more would come to me soon. That adversary has been finished by me, others would also follow suit. I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am excellent, mighty, and happy. The unlimited arrogance of demoniacs. The Lord has taken almost the very words out of the mouths of demoniacs when they boast of their achievements. As their desires get fulfilled, their ego and arrogance get bloated beyond limits. They hope for more and more of such successes. The worsting of one enemy at their hands spurs them on to deal similar blows to the remaining ones. They become more and more strengthened in their determination to accumulate objects of worldly enjoyments.
So, first thing here, as desires get fulfilled, right? One desire gets done, that completion doesn't lead to any satisfaction or happiness or completion or peace. It only gives rise to more desires. We had reminded ourselves of the story of Rakt Bij in last class. Rakt Bij represents our unending desires, right? So as soon as one desire gets done, it gives rise to many, many more desires. Nothing else. That's why our goal is to first not, it does not mean that we have to kill the desires or finish the desires. We can't finish them. There is a reason for desires to exist. But we have to transmute the desires to the desire of Bhagavad Prapti rather than the petty desires of material sensual nature. You know? So that's what we need to do with desires. It's a great energy which propels us forward, but this energy has to be applied to the right purpose. Desire to obtain Bhagwanji, desire to have Atma Sakshatkar, rather than the desire to get the next big house or the next car or the next promotion. We have to get past these things. You know? So as the desires get fulfilled, what happens? The ego and the arrogance become bigger and bigger. See, everywhere in both these shlokas, what's happening? It's the ego speaking. I have achieved this. I have finished this person. I am the Lord. I am the joy. I am doing everything. विदाउट रियलाइजिंग कि जो भी कुछ मेरी जिंदगी में आ रहा है, जो भी रिसोर्सेस हैं, जो भी विभूतियां हैं मेरी, वट एवर आर माई good qualities. I am a good singer. I am very intelligent. I am a good painter. I am a good administrator. I am very organized. Whatever, I am a good cook. Whatever vibhutis Bhagwan Ji has given me have been given to me by Bhagwan Ji. I have done nothing for that except for honing. But wo honing ki bhi skill is given by Bhagwan Ji. The context and the environment and the situations have been created by Bhagwanji which allow me to hone my skills, and they have only been done in such a way so that I can use these skills for achieving him, and in the process leave a gift in this world. But a person who is steeped in demonical way of thinking thinks that he has achieved it. He has got that promotion. He got that project done. He cooked that food. He keeps the house clean. He's the one taking care of everything. Right? It's always I, with no space for others. There is no space in his world for gratefulness. There is no space for Bhagwanji in his life. So examples of this kind of behavior that we are aware of, and where we know these type of people is Ravan, Kans, Mahishasur, Hiranyakashyap, right? These are the various stories we can read in our Upanishads and in our Bhagavatam. But these stories have been created not because these are specific weird people, but because we can see each of these people inside of ourselves. Each of these people exist inside of us. And we all have been there. So our job is to find these inside of us and give them to Ravan, give them to Vishnu, give them to Ram to kill.
So, to add to what Tuvina is saying, right? First things first, we have to understand that the nature of ego is essentially twofold. One is control, second is ownership. Every time you feel you are controlling anything, it's ego that speaks. Anytime you feel I own something, that is ego that speaks. Right? Now, for all of us, it is easier to, I would say, suspend ego at home with our family, etc., when we do activities at home, because we do a lot of our activities at home with seva. Like, let's cook good food for our kids, healthy food at the right time. They eat or don't eat, at least I serve the right food. Then they ate in somebody else's house and came, that's a secondary thing. You don't get that upset. You don't ask for that much credit, right? But all of these subtle demonical qualities that are being mentioned in Shloka 13 and 14 is very prominent in our offices, right? And that is where we need to make the distinction and understanding that what we have to do for office, right? What we have to do for our work, the action may stay the same, but the purpose with which you do has to change. The purpose when we work for our company cannot, that is where you will see the subtle sense of ego that comes in, that I did this and I got that result, right? There is a sense of ego that will come in our corporate work, and this is where I would say we have to align to the purpose of doing it for the right reasons for the company. Companies are all set up for a purpose. Companies are all set up to create impact in the world, to create value for others in the world. Otherwise, they would never be able to make money, right? So this is the subtle difference where demonical properties will creep in very quickly, and we won't even realize it. We won't even realize the language we use. I think the opposite of what this shloka is, and this is something worth reflecting upon, not talking about it too much today, but no matter what we do, that last moment right before a result is His grace. If you actually think about it, no matter what we do, what actions we take, etc., what bhav we do it with, the last moment right before a result is something you can never control. It is His grace. It is, if you, even if you work on in cricket, right now I'm watching a lot of cricket, right? In cricket, they say, oh, this player has a natural timing of the ball, and all commentators will say we don't know where it comes from, but there are some people that practice. 100 people practice, 5 of them will have that grace of natural timing, and that doesn't mean they all become uh, professional cricketers, but they say, when they were talking about the sport, they say it is so beautiful to see that some people just have that natural ability to time the ball, like Saurav Ganguly, or whether it's a Virat Kohli, etc. Right? And then you realize, no matter what effort you put in, that last moment, that last mile before the result is His grace. If you don't keep that in mind and you start taking ownership, that is your ego that is coming. That is the subtle way your demonical property comes in, because you think you control the outcome.
And this is a road to hell. Why is this a road to hell? Because as desires get fulfilled, we get bigger and bigger and bigger desires, right? तो आपने एक desire fulfill कर ली, second desire कर ली, third desire कर ली. At some point of time, whether it's your third desire, whether it's your 300th desire, at some stage, this person is going to reach the limits, right? The limits of his resources, his ability. Okay? पहुंचेगा ही पहुंचेगा. This is a natural course that happens. So this person will reach his natural limit, and that limit means that the next desire that he has is going to get frustrated. Okay? We all get to that point, whatever aspect we take in our lives. When you reach that limit, that person is now full of arrogance, ego, and all its ego wants is that fulfillment of that one desire, because that's all that we have fed our ego. That's all that we have learned to do, right? When you get to that point of not achieving your desire, so you're going to become upset, angry, and then anger causes a loss of all memory of propriety. It causes loss of all understanding of what is right, what is wrong. And then we start to do things that are extremely wrong. We will insult people. We are going to take actions that we are going to be very sorry for and that are completely against the injunctions of the scriptures, either to achieve the result or just to express our frustration.
No, it's also a slippery slope for a second reason, which is Sansar celebrates people who they think can control outcome. So the ego will get celebrated further and further in this Sansar. But if you go back even 2 generations, right, our grandparents, and you ask them something, their answer would almost naturally always be, Bhagwan ki kripa se hamare paas ye hai. Bhagwan ki kripa se enough. there was that sense of kripa that existed, which in our, as Matuna says, Kal Yug mein ab, it's disappearing. Sorry, Vijay, you have a question?
Yeah, you're mentioning about the corporate typical setup, right? Like the work culture and so on. So the typical appraisal cycle itself is aligned in a way what you have achieved the whole of last year. So if we are not talking about somebody is going to take the credit, oh, we did this, we did that, all that kind of thing, gentrified way, it is going to be taken up. So how do we typically position in that case, right? Like how we have done something and there is an outcome for the company. So what is the right way of representing is the question.
Question. Very good question. So Gita is not telling us to not follow a certain process, right? If you have a process of appraisal and that requires that you have to do an assessment, then you have to do an assessment, whether it is for yourself or whether it is for your juniors or your peers, right? You will follow the process. You will answer the questions. You're going to do whatever is required. Okay. Lekin again, purpose and bhav are more important than the action. If our purpose and bhav is correct, what is the correct purpose and bhav, and what can potentially be the wrong purpose and bhav? Your correct purpose and bhav is going to be, the purpose is that there is a process in my company and I have signed up to it, so I will follow the process in the best possible manner, right? The bhav is that you need to bring out and make sure that your boss, your supervisor, your peers, your colleagues exactly understand what you have been able to create and how. And in that process, acknowledge everything and everybody who has been there to support you along the way. And you will also bring out what challenges you faced, right? So that people are aware of what you have been up to and what helped you, what did not help you, with the understanding that with this, that the the result of this communication would be that you're all on the same page and you can get more support or whatever support you need to be able to achieve your goals that the company has set for you, or be able to discuss if there are issues along the way. Similarly, when you are doing appraisal for your juniors or your peers, you have to try and understand what can I do to set you up for success, and what can I do to help you achieve your potential. That's the purpose of the appraisal process. Not, and the wrong or the arrogant process can be where you're just looking to tom your achievements in, and when you're in that frame of mind with that bhav, then there is going to be a preponderance of I did this, I did that. There will be no acknowledgement, there will be no gratefulness for everything that the company did to help you along. There would be no acknowledgement of other peers, your juniors who helped you get to that outcome. And such a person is going to try and steal other people's achievements and show off as if they are their own, right? There's going to be a lot of hypocrisy along the way. So there is nothing wrong with the process of following the process. In fact, it is our duty to follow the processes that a company sets up, but it is the purpose and the bhav with which we approach it for everyone that makes a difference. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
See, if you approach your work with the right purpose and bhav on a daily basis, which is to create value for the company ka dharma is profit, to help them make money, and you do your best every single day, all of us are middle level managers at some point. We know who the workers are, and we know who people, we can easily smell people's insecurity, even though they themselves don't know. So people who are insecure and say, like, oh my God, somebody else will take my credit, we can see them very quickly. And that's not the purpose and that's not the bhav with which we want to approach our work. That's not why we've got that job, right? And that's the difference, I would say, between Asuri and Dev. Devya is like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes to control that outcome because I want that 10% hike or 20% hike or whatever it is. I want that next job, right? The Asuri is like, I will, sorry, so the opposite. Devya, Asuri is the ego, and then The devya is like, I will do it with the right purpose, right? I will do the job with the right purpose, with the right bhav, and I will present my case. I will not be shy about saying, this is what the effort I did, this is what the result was for the company.
These were the challenges I faced.
These were the challenges, and you are very grateful that you had the opportunity for the success or for the learning. Every failure is a learning also for the organization, right? And that's the essence of it.
Correct.
Let's move on.
I think the whole thing will boil down to whether it is you're doing an appraisal process or whether you're giving feedback to anybody. I think you always have to take a pause to see what is your feeling. We did this in last chapter, right? And we understood the importance of feelings. We understood the importance of how they can be used to capture what guna is on the ascendancy. Is it rajas? Is it tamas, or is it sattva? If we are seated in sattva, then there is nothing that we can do which is wrong. It may be perceived wrongly, but आपने बिल्कुल सही और clean भाव से किया है. फिर उसका जो रिजल्ट होगा वो होगा आपके प्रारब्ध के हिसाब से आएगा, चाहे कुछ भी आएगा, उसको हम लोग एक्सेप्ट करेंगे विद फुल ग्रेटफुलनेस ऑफ भगवान जी. इट्स अ प्रसाद, इट्स अ ब्लेसिंग, इट्स अ लर्निंग, है ना. If we are not seated in sattva, so whatever we will do will have its counter effects. So we just have to place ourselves in a space of love, peacefulness, gratefulness. If we are seated in that space when we are doing appraisal, when we are giving feedback, whether it is to colleagues, whether we are giving that feedback to our children, whether we are talking to our spouse, the words that will come out, the tone of the voice that will come out, the body, the way the body will be responding is going to be extremely different. And this is something that you can only understand when you start observing yourself. I was in this bhav, I was in anger when I gave this feedback. How were you? What kind of feedback came out and what result did you get back? If you're giving out anger, know that 10 times more anger will come back to you. Whether in that situation or the world or the universe responding to you by saying, oh, you want to be angry? I'll give you 10 more reasons to be angry. Because you want anger. This world responds. Bhagwanji is very compassionate and loving. He will give us, he's told us that I will meet you in the form in which you worship me. If you worship me in the form of anger, like Hiranyakashyap, I will meet you in the form of Narsimha. Right? If you, whatever form you worship me with, and worshiping me means what? This world was not created by Bhagwanji. The world is his form. He took the form of this world. So whenever we are interacting with this world, we are interacting with Bhagwanji. So whatever we put out in this world will come back to us tenfold. Always. So we always have to seat ourselves. We have to take that moment to seat ourselves in sattva, in satogun, before we take any action. फिर जो कुछ होगा वो अच्छा हो, हमेशा, चाहे कितनी भी contentious situation हो. When we are seated in space of love, when we are seated in a space of gratefulness, humility, calmness, उसके बाद जो कुछ हम करेंगे वो हम भगवान जी की ग्रेस से करेंगे. Then it is him acting through us. But when we are seated in a space of rajas, then it is ego acting through us. That is a distinction we need to start making for ourselves. The next one. Smita, do you want to read with us?
Yeah, sure. The Lord continues to describe their boastful attitude.
Ardhayobhijanvanasmi.
Adhayobhijanavasmi.
Ardhayobhijanvanasmi.
Adhayobhijanavasmi.
Janvanasmi.
Janvanasmi.
Ko anyo asti sadrasho maya.
Ko anyosti sadryo maya.
Yakshe dasyami modishya.
yakshe dasyami modishya
इत्यज्ञानविमोहिताः
ityajnana vimohitaha. I am rich and highborn. Who else can equal me? I shall perform yagnas and give generous alms. I will marry. I will make merry. Thus, they are deluded by their ignorance.
अनेकचित्तविभ्रान्ता
Anekachitta vibhranta
मोहजालसमावृताः
mohajala samavritaha
प्रसक्ताः कामभोगेषु
prasakta kama bhogeshu
पतन्ति नरकेषु च
patanti narakeshu cha. Bewildered by many such fancies, entangled in the snares of delusion, engrossed in sensual enjoyments, they fall into the depths of perdition, the high boast of demoniacs. Such people feel proud of belonging to rich and high families. They do not acknowledge anyone to be their equal. While they are proud of their riches and high lineage, they also want to have reputation of being epitomes of virtue and religiosity. To earn such a reputation, they perform yagnas and give charity. On the one hand, performance of yagnas would be going on with the loud chanting of mantras, and on the other, they would be engrossed in their sensual enjoyments.
So just
In,
pause,
yeah,
pause here. So first thing to understand here is the definition of rich and high families. Definition of rich here doesn't necessarily mean richness in material wealth. It is richness of all our vibhutis that we are given. I am more intelligent than them. I am prettier than them. I'm more educated than them. Oh, I'm so well exposed. Oh, I'm so well read. All of that gives us a false sense of superiority over everybody else.
I belong to such and such institution.
Correct. You
I
have to
belong
treat me
to
a
such
certain
and such
way.
community.
So that and so that's the second part. The families here doesn't represent just our immediate families, it's the association. It's this phrase that we normalize, but it's actually a little scary. I'm not my net worth, I'm my network. So people come and their names drop. We all have had meetings where people names drop names of CEOs they've met or whatever, people, important people, right?
Or the concept of belonging to certain clubs and the arrogance that comes with it.
Correct.
Right?
These are all slippery. This is what rich and high families mean for our lifestyle today. And we have to be extremely careful how we associate with it. It's not about not associating with it. You have to do your duty, you have to associate, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
what he's
about
saying
not
is there's
identifying
nothing,
with them.
yeah, it's nothing wrong with the rich and high family. They're all amazing. They're all forms of Shri, forms of wealth, forms of Lakshmi, right? There's nothing wrong with it. What is wrong is feeling proud of them, not realizing the grace of Bhagwanji that has gotten us there.
Yeah. So the trap here, and this is the natural trap we will have, is we will associate and identify with these rich and high families, and we will say, oh, it's because of me. You can achieve, and then we will meet other people, say, hey, you don't work hard enough. Hey, get into the right college. Hey, you don't network. Hey, you're too introvert. Hey, you're whatever. Like all that advice we give, right? This is that demonical quality.
The boasting.
I'm doing Gita. I'm so good. Hey, what do you know? I'll tell you how to do it. I'll teach you Nishkamba. Right? These are all the subtle ways this quality will seep through us, and you won't even realize it. And what Tuina had said in the summary in the very beginning is for us to be able to tackle them is you need to first have a level of awareness and acceptance that yeah, that exists for me. And create that space where you say, no, let there be space between that quality and me so that my real self can shine. gratefulness can come in that Bhagwanji gave me the opportunity for the satsang or for the job or for the introduction to a president of the country or whatever it is. Right? And the second half of this paragraph is essentially talking about us doing satsang and puja, but really thinking, oh, I'm so good. Or doing it because other people will say, look, she's so good. Are, ye Gita padha, kitna smart hai. Without listening, sometimes people come and tell me, without listening to a word I say, I've not said anything. They're like, tum Gita padhte ho, gyan sam. I mean, tum bahut achhe ho. I'm just like, why you don't, I could be a demon, man. You can't, but. So there is so much of that it's associated that it's scary. You have to keep yourself in check. All of us have now been on this journey for a few years. We all know this book means nothing till we practice it to our lives. And that space of reading and practice is a 1,000-mile road. Right?
And then they want to, when you are proud of something, then you want to have the right reputation. This is what we had talked about a few times when we talk about the concept of self-image. Reputation is part of that self-image we create for ourselves. I am this kind of a person. I'm a very hardworking person. I'm an amazing mother. I'm a very intelligent person. I am the CEO of something. I manage a large team of like, I don't know, 100 people. Like I'm a global product head. And these are all images we create for ourselves. And then we have a sense of how other people should treat me. Right? It's not just my image of myself, of how now others should have exactly the same image of myself. Now, Vijay should also acknowledge me for exactly all these things, whether he sees it or not, whether he has a different opinion. If he has a different opinion of me, then God forbid. Now we have an issue. Now we can't see eye to eye. Now Vijay has to like walk around on eggshells around me. I must have that, like I create this self-image of which is far from the reality. And I want everyone to know of that self-image, to acknowledge that self-image, and then treat me according to my idea of how that self-image must be treated. All right. And then I'm going to do all kinds of shosha to be able to maintain that sense of that sense of who I am. Okay. Now you want other people to think that you are good. You're not being good. You want to look good. This is all looking good. This is all the part of the wrapper, the candy wrapper. You are that candy inside the wrapper. But we don't, it's like we're only trying to engage with the wrapper, not with the candy inside. Right? So we're trying to beautify that wrapper. Every effort is going to go into that wrapper. So demoniacs act or work with the wrapper of the candy, whereas the Daivi qualities are inside that candy, inside that wrapper. When we are able to distinguish that, oh, there is this candy and there is this wrapper outside, and this wrapper is there for a purpose, which is to safeguard the candy until it is I'm ready to eat it, and I can open that wrapper, take the candy out, and eat it. Right? The people who understand this truth are the people who understand the real truth. They are the seers. They can see the world for what it is and interact with it exactly in the way you need to interact with it. You give an asan to every thought. You give an asan to every person that comes in your life. Appropriate asan. Giving an appropriate asan to everything means what? A niche thought comes, a tamasic thought comes, you deal with it and get it done with, get it out of your life. A good thought comes, you want to do something about it, you take the right action that you need to. So you deal with everything appropriately, with people appropriately. Okay? So these people will perform yagyas and they will give charity. So all the things that are put in the scriptures, right? You should do this, you should do that, you should do that. The Vedas have hundreds and thousands of scriptures, like hundreds and thousands of prescriptions for various things to do, right? These people will do all those things, but with what purpose? So we'll complete this, the rest of it, and then we'll come back to it. Yes, Bhagesh.
Yeah, so the last line of the first paragraph where they're saying they would be engrossed in their sensual enjoyments. Does this like literally mean like satisfying the senses, like let's say eating food only for enjoyment or taste, or like hearing sense, let's say could be for gossip, or talking could be only talking about others or something like that. What does it actually mean, sensual enjoyments?
You hit it on the head. Exactly
Okay.
what it means. So to give another example is कि घर में आपने सत्यनारायण कथा रखी. ओके, इट्स प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इन योर स्क्रिप्चर, आपको ये काम करना चाहिए, ठीक है. या फिर घर में शादी हो रही है, ठीक है, आपके बच्चे की शादी है, सो यज्ञ से क्या रहे, आपको शादी करनी चाहिए, यू शुड टेक केयर ऑफ योर गेस्ट, ऑल ऑफ दोस, राइट. कोई भी ऐसा कोई बड़ा इवेंट आप कर रहे हैं घर पे. नाउ व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ इट? somebody who's doing it with the sattva bhav and with the right purpose कि ये एक I have to do this to earn punya, to earn merit, and let it allow कि एक तो एक संस्कार है, मुझे ये संस्कार करना है, शादी करना है, शादी is a very important संस्कार in one's life. I have to do it correctly, right, to set a good start. And सत्यनारायण कथा कर रहे हैं because it is a reminder to myself as to कि भगवान जी क्यों मेरे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. दिस इज वन ऑफ दोज रिमाइंडर्स टू माई सेल्फ, राइट. सो व्हाट पर्पस यू आर डूइंग इट विद, अगर आप उस भाव से, उस करेक्ट पर्पस से कर रहे हैं, तो आपका सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट फोकस कहाँ रहेगा? यू विल ऑब्वियसली डू एवरीथिंग, ऑल एक्शंस, यू विल डू ऑल द प्रिपरेशंस, द ऑपरेशंस, द लॉजिस्टिक्स, द फूड, द डेकोरेशंस, मेकिंग श्योर दैट ऑल योर गेस्ट्स आर being taken care of appropriately. You'll do all of those things, right? You'll put all of that effort. पर आपका फोकस इस चीज पे रहेगा कि सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट आपका भाव क्या है, अतिथि भाव क्या है, जो एक्शन आप कर रहे हो उसमें भाव क्या है, आपका पूजा में दिमाग लग रहा है नहीं लग रहा है, जो पंडित जी बोल रहे हैं आप उसमें सुन रहे हैं, आर यू रिमाइंडिंग योरसेल्फ ऑफ दैट स्टोरी ऑफ सत्यनारायण, आर यू रियली लिस्निंग टू इट, आर यू रिमाइंडिंग योरसेल्फ? या अगर वो नहीं है, ओके, व्हाट विल द डेमोनिकल पर्सन डू हियर? दैट दिस द एग्जांपल हियर दैट्स बीइंग गिवन. यहाँ पे सत्यनारायण कथा चल रही है, दुनिया भर के सारे चैंट्स हो रहे हैं, आपने बड़ा सा यज्ञ किया, सब कुछ हो रहा है, बट व्हाट इज योर फोकस? योर फोकस इज हाउ इज द डेकोरेशन? इज द डेकोरेशन गुड इनफ? इज द डेकोरेशन द बेस्ट? Are people being awed by the decoration? Is my house looking amazing? What clothes am I going to wear? What clothes will my kid wear? Are we looking absolutely appropriate? Am I wearing the right jewelry? Am I looking beautiful? Did I get my hair done properly? Right? Is the food that is being catered amazing? And then are people acknowledging it? You are not listening to the katha. You're not listening to the chants. You're listening to what people are talking about it, what people are talking about you. And then you're gossiping about them after the event. What did this person say? What did that person say? What gift did they get? Did they not get? That's the focus. So that's the focus of a demonic. कि it doesn't matter कि what the activity is going on, ये सब कुछ हो रहा है शोषा के लिए, and ultimately अंतःकरण आपका cleanse नहीं हुआ, it is getting worse because you're using even the most religious and the most amazing satoguni activity for rajasic and tamasic purposes, because आपका purpose ही वही है, आपका purpose is to impress others and to gain a certain reputation for yourself, not to actually achieve bhagwanji through that process. तो सेंट्रल प्लेजर्स में आपका डील हुआ ना, बिकॉज योर आईज, योर ईयर्स, योर नोज, योर सेंस ऑफ टेस्ट, एवरीथिंग इज बीइंग एंगेज्ड इन द एक्सटर्नल्स ऑफ दैट एक्टिविटी. तो फिर वो रिचुअल सिर्फ एक कर्म कांड बन के रह गया और कुछ नहीं. देयर इज नो मेरिट दैट इज गोइंग टू गेट अक्रूड टू यू. So now this yagya, the word yagya here, yagya doesn't mean the actual havan yagya kind of yagya, right? Every activity we do in our lives is a yagya. Can be a yagya or can be a karmakand. Cooking food for our family can be a karmakand or can be a very sattvic activity. Doing your work in office, doing your job, what is required of your role, can be a yagya, which you are doing with a nishkam bhav, with the right satoguni sense of doing your duty, or it can be an extremely rajasic or an extremely tamasic activity, right? So यज्ञ आप किस तरह से कर रहे हैं, so यहाँ पे हमें describe कर रहे हैं how does a demonical person do. He will show that he's doing, he will show in his job, he will show like he's doing everything for the company, but what is he really doing? He's only thinking about his own gain, his own pleasure. What is he getting out of it? What are others thinking about him while he's doing it? Is he wearing the right clothes? Is he wearing the right watch? Is he saying the right things in the right context? सब बाहर का दिखावा रह गया. And it is because हम लोगों ने इतना दिखावा देखा है इस दुनिया में that a lot of us at some point of time been, like we have given up on a lot of, ritualistic activities because we have seen them being used exactly like this by demonical people for shosha. Right? So we are not doing it with the right purpose. Let's read on.
In Shloka 16, the Lord says that they perform yagnas only to earn the reputation of being religious, so that others may be impressed by the exhibition of virtue. But due to their base and vile motives, they are deprived of the beneficial outcome of these religious practices. And instead of rising to the heights of heavenly felicity, they fall into the depths of perdition.
So the most amazing example here for us to remind ourselves is that of Ravan. He was the ultimate asur. Ultimate asur. He represents ego. He was a total Siddh. The number of yagyas he has done, he knew all the scriptures by heart, right? He was a total Siddh. He had got boon from Shiva as well, right? So he did everything that was prescribed in scriptures. And why did he do all of this? The purpose was to achieve materialistic aspects, right? And now achieving materialistic things is not wrong. Achieving Maya is not wrong. What makes it wrong is the purpose associated with it, the purpose of the yajna. You must have a purpose which is higher than fulfilling materialistic desires. The purpose must be Bhagavad Prapti end of the day. Everything we do in our lives, everything we think in our lives must get us to that one purpose. Otherwise, either we are doing something for Bhagavad Prapti or we are doing something for this for achieving this something in this world, which means either we are on the way to becoming Ram or if we are not doing that, then we are becoming Ravan. We are being Ravan. There's nothing in between. There is Ram or there is Ravan. In every moment of the day, there is nothing else in between. There are no gray areas here.
But honestly, the reality is nobody is pure Ram and nobody is pure Ravan in today's world. Everybody has a mix of grayness, and so at places they're really nice, and at places the demons comes out because of certain reasons also, or vice versa. The demons are there, but they try and act. So this is very good, but in reality, one does face a lot of these grayness and gray qualities that needs to be addressed because there's no pureness in people now that you can say, oh, this person is completely Ravan. No, now this person is completely Ram. And the challenges that does life throw us, which was across the generations, needs to be handled with that understanding and has to be handled that way. I think that is where this becomes a little challenging to understand because I do not see anybody who's like purely Ravan in my life or purely Ram in my life.
So there is only one person who is perfect, and that person is Bhagwanji. So exactly what you're saying, right? There is no perfectness in this world. There's only one perfection, and that is Bhagwanji. Okay? And when somebody becomes perfect, he becomes Bhagwanji himself. This life is pursuit of perfection. So which is why I said that it's every moment to moment. Either we are being Ram or we are being Ravan by the choices we make. So you're never Ram at all times. Even the Siddhas, even the sages are not Ram at all times. They will fall at some points of time, right? There are demons that need to be addressed. The number of times we become Ravan versus Ram is what we need to observe and become aware of. There is nobody who's perfect, which is why we need to love everybody exactly as they are. Exactly as they are. There is no Ravan or Ram out there in this world that we need to look at. We only need to look at ourselves and look at ourselves on a moment to moment basis. And then not feel extremely proud of ourselves when we are being Ram and not berate ourselves when we are being Ravan. In both the situations, with equanimity, observe, oh, okay, this is what I'm being. Good. This is what I'm being. Great. I'm being aware of my behavior and my actions. And just that awareness is going to loosen the knots where they need to loosen up and will strengthen the good habits where that is what's required.
So,
Make sense?
so just let me add, right? All of us, like Tuina has mentioned many times earlier as well, all of us have hundreds of different voices and qualities in our head, right? All like the whole Kurukshetra, all the battle, all the characters, all of that are subtle qualities that exist within us. Before we start the Gita journey, we would see these qualities based on our interaction with VVGP. So, depending on the person in front of us, I would be good or I would be bad. Depending on the situation, if it's favorable, I'm happy. If it's unfavorable, I'm unhappy. If there is a ghatna that comes in, then we're like, why me? Right? So, we were victims of our VVGP, victims of our circumstance. And we allowed that to dictate who we will be
And how we will feel.
and how we will feel. The entire journey of Gita is to take a step back and say, hey, VVGP is all happening for a reason and for my ultimate benefit. And there is a space between what happens and what I experience and how I react. And as we go deeper in the Gita, that's the space with which we can choose to be Devya. And when we do that, then firstly we cut our own prarabdha, we go further along on a journey. But I will also firmly state, you practice this, your entire life around you will change. Your people around you will start changing. The people around you, who you hang out with, who comes in your consciousness, will be the people who have a higher level of Dev. Then all of a sudden you will see, well, we're surrounded by such amazing, inspiring human beings. But if you don't practice, that growth will not happen, where you will see the people around you change.
I think very nicely put that, we are victim to our VVGPs. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, even after so many years of Gita, I think I'm still victim of VVGPs, that I do feel those emotions. And it's very difficult to take a step back. A lot of time, yes, but still a lot of time, no, where you are thinking that all this is happening for a greater good of mine. Because a lot of times you do not understand the reasons of the way things are happening. So I think to have that firm belief, which I've said before also, which I've seen in my parents or my great parents, grandparents, is where they have this firm belief ki jo hoga achhe ke liye hoga. That in your daily interaction, you do not feel it. And that's why you engage with all the VVGPs and be succumbed or be a victim to it. So yeah, that belief has to, that strong belief, I don't know, you guys are already there probably, but
No, not.
despite so many years of Gita, it's not yet there.
All seekers, but I'll say this, the strong belief doesn't exist for me as an individual when I'm attached to the outcome or I'm insecure about something. But when my son comes and tells me that something bad happened or whatever, as a parent, it is easier for me to tell him, don't react, it'll all work out.
Yeah.
Don't stress, it'll all work out. That means now I believe it because I'm telling that to the person who's most important in my life. But I'm unable to implement it because I'm unable to let go of my attachment. And my son will also be unable to implement it till I actually make him aware of his attachments.
So then what?
Interesting, yes.
What is the remedy?
Work it on yourself.
And how do we work on ourselves and how do we keep reminding ourselves?
It's
implement. It's Sunday.
That's one day. Part. Satsang is one part. What else?
Nam Jap, you would say.
What else?
Swadhyay.
Sorry?
Swadhyay.
Swadhyay. Swadhyay, absolutely. See, these are all there for a reason. The point is that it can be said again and again. Like ये करो, ये करो, ये करो, ये करो, इससे ये होगा. अगर हम नहीं करेंगे, तो रिजल्ट नहीं मिलेगा. And we will be stuck even after 10 years. There will be no progress. क्योंकि हमने वो actions नहीं किए ना जो चाहिए कुछ अचीव करने के लिए. You can keep saying कि मुझे स्विमिंग सीखनी है, स्विमिंग सीखनी है, स्विमिंग सीखनी है. मुझे मुझे I want to get healthier, I want to get stronger, I want my muscles to be stronger. Unless we actually do the work that is required for it. If you don't jump into the pool, no matter what you do on your bed, you know how many strokes you learn on your bed, you will not learn how to swim. है ना? Swimming can only be learned by jumping in and actually learning how to swim. You can't learn swimming by practicing the strokes watching on a YouTube on your bed. So वो बहुत जरूरी है. There are these things that must be done, those actions that must be done. अगर हम वो नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो भी बहुत अच्छा है. If we can become aware कि हम क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं. मुझे पता है ये मेरे लिए अच्छा है, पर मैं नहीं कर रही हूँ. क्यों? What is stopping me? That becomes your point of entry into your basement. Just that inquiry. And this is something Bhagwanji has told us again and again. Ki it doesn't matter where on the circumference of the circle you are. From that very point, you can draw a radius to the pole. So whatever is your point of Vishal, that Vishal will become a point of yoga. Whatever thing that is coming up for you in your life right now, you don't have to go too far. Whatever is coming up for you in your life right now, there's a situation at work, there's a situation at home, there's a relationship, there is something that is bothering you. Anything in this world that is coming up for you in your life right now becomes a point of yoga for you, becomes a point of what will reveal something to you about yourself that you need to work on and that you need to let go. Ultimately, you will find as you keep layering you keep layering the onion, okay, you will come to a point where you will find a certain belief, a certain way of being that you need to let go. And when you let that go, that situation will stop bothering you or will stop recurring in your life. Or even if it recurs, it will stop bothering you. It will stop being something of importance to you in your life.
Just wanted to add one point. So what helped is like the not the faith alone, right? Like faith with patience to sail through and then retrospect, right? Like if you remember what is happening in your life, the most hardest thing and how you sail through successfully out of it or whatever it is with, that's what you are going to become your story essentially. The Ram's story, if you take, it is all hardship only. There is nothing easy about it. He is a prince. He could have stayed. He could have denied. I'm not going to any forest happily. Then it is there is no story of Ram, right? So when the story comes, it is about the how much of faith and how much of patience and how much of retrospect that we are able to do to understand it, right? That is what is going to help. So that is where our the Nabjab or this thing, when we start focusing on these items, that is when we are going to go back. How did I even survive this? Without God will and support, it's most of the cases, it will be like almost impossible to come out of the situation without any kind of a support. So that is what uh, I was going through personally. Just
No,
wanted to
it's Shalini Didi had once mentioned this. No, this is actually in the Ramcharitamanas. It was mentioned कि हमारे life में, in our life, if Ram actually comes in front of us also, no, we won't be able to recognize him because we are so judgmental. We will be so quick to slash him in 15 different ways because we are not ready to receive it. We don't even know what we're looking for. We're not even aware. So in Ramcharitamanas, the story was there that a person did not even recognize Vishnu and was mean to him or whatever, said a few things, and then realized, oh, it was him. His perception wasn't clear enough to see God. And that's very interesting. Anyways, let's move to takeaways.
I'll go first. Today's class takeaway was quite a few things very interesting. I found that it's very beginning when we were saying that the last thought before you die is the average of all your thoughts of your life, and you just can't like say, okay, hey Ram, and all is well, and everything goes away. So that I thought was very interesting. And further on today, I also realized that the best way to is see things is to be aware when you are in a situation where you can either choose to look at it, should I be Ram or Ravan, or at least catch that awareness and detach yourself from the outcome is the right way to look at it. And then that way you can practice it more frequently, then it just becomes like second nature.
Thank you, Priya.
So I'll go. My takeaway here is to see how everything is His grace here. Whether, I mean, our job is to just put in the efforts, and whether we stress about the outcome, we worry about it, or we not, or we fully surrender. Whatever happens, it's His grace only. If we are focusing on the result, it's just that we are putting ourselves through that extra worry and anxiety for no reason, because in the end it's going to happen only with his grace. And I'm seeing that for some of the task in my life, but I'm not able to like apply it for everything, like let's say surrender every task I do. um like if there are some difficult and important tasks, let's say I think that okay, I'm just gonna leave it to God, let him take the decision, let him do, because like I can only control which is within me. Like I can do my naam jap, I can work on myself, but whatever is outside of me, whatever result and outcome I'm looking outside of me in some task which is like outside of me, if it's a difficult and important task, if I surrender to God, it I feel so light, it feels so I mean, if we can actually focus on the effort rather than the outcome. But yeah, and in the end, I have I've seen that he knows better than us, because some we have so many thoughts going on, and we only speak, let even if we speak about it, we speak only like some parts of our thoughts, but he knows all our thoughts also. So he knows what we want, or he knows what is good for us. So in the end, whatever he chooses is going to be best, rather than what we ask about the outcome or result. So yeah, I think I'll try to apply it with everything. I like every task in life.
Very, very beautifully shared.
And again, you won't be able to like run a 42-kilometer marathon until you have first done that first kilometer, then second kilometer, then 5 kilometers, and have the patience. Here, I am on my journey. I will one day be able to run that 42-kilometer. Don't berate yourself if today you can only do 15 kilometers. But you've come as far as 15 kilometers. That's amazing celebration, right? So we acknowledge the grace that has gotten me thus far and have full faith that one day I will get to that final thing also. So it's just it's a journey, and it will take its time. It won't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight, right? As we always say, if it takes 9 months to gestate a baby, it will take 9 months. We have to have the patience and faith that at the end of this process, a baby will be born. But I have to wait 9 months. I just can't will it because there are physical laws at work.
So I'll give you
So
an
you're doing fantastic, and it will happen. One day you'll be able to apply to everything. Slowly, slowly. Just follow the
Yeah.
process. Follow the process and enjoy the process as you are.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example about the grace, right? His grace. There was when growing up, there was this Mami ji in our they used to live in Bombay. She arguably is one of the best cooks, and she used to make amazing food, right? The rajma वगैरह. So I used to tell Mami, आप recipe लो, आप मामी जी जैसा राजमा बनाओ. Make the rajma exactly like Mami ji. So mom would make it, and the taste was never exact, right? It was never. So in the middle, I used to go to Mami ji, you're putting some secret ingredient that my mom, that you're not telling my mom, because it does not taste even half as good. And then somewhere in the conversation over the years, they say, Mami ji ka haath ka khana, the element of her love you cannot replicate. And all of us growing up in Indian houses, we all know that our grandmother's food, our mother cannot replicate. And that last mile that we in our culture we say haath ka pyar is the grace. We can take the exact proportions of what somebody does, but that does not mean we'll get the same result. It is his grace that will take it to perfection.
And whatever happens is perfection.
And
It is his story, right? It is his story. He's playing out a story through us. So if he wants me, self-realization will happen in 90 years. So it doesn't matter what I want, right? So enjoy that process also. Whatever time it takes, I am going to enjoy this walk that Bhagwanji has given me. I'll thoroughly enjoy the sceneries along the way without taking the burden of it. And I will take whatever time he has designated for me to reach him. But all of us, whether we like it or not, are walking his path. Whether we walk it begrudgingly and unhappily, or whether we walk it happily and enjoy everything that happens along the way. That's up to us. Thank you.
I can go next. There is a lot of takeaways in today's class. Judgment and ego, we discussed about it, goes hand in hand. Self-judgment is one of the things everybody have to work on, and including me. So, another thing that we discussed about is with every action we take, we'll have to keep Ram in our mind and do the wrong way instead of the Ravan way. There is everything has like two. You can go either side. So that is one of the things we'll have to keep in mind to move towards God. Another thing that I wanted to let you guys know, when you said last moment when we die, what we think about. So there is a story about Ajamila in Bhagavatam. It just so happens we have like Monday night sastang at temple every Monday. This nice priest who comes to the temple after our prayers, he would come and talk about it. This week's sastang was about Ajamila. So he wavered towards, he was a Brahmin. He wavered, he would live with, with a kind of a woman who goes out, and I don't want to spell out what kind of a woman that was. But at the end, and he will waver, out of his duties, and he would go on the other side. At the last moment when he was about to die, he would name his last son as Narayan. So, and he was the pet for him. So last moment he would see Yamadharmaraja come to get his soul. So the last thing he'll say is Narayana. So Narayan's disciples would come and say like, okay, we are protecting him. So Yamadharmaraja had to give out on taking his soul. Then he will realize, and he will go to Haridwar and spend his last days, work on himself, and he will attain moksha at the end. It's a beautiful story. When he explained it, it felt so great. So that's one thing that, it related. As soon as you said that, I'm like, okay, that's a story about Ajamila.
Thank you for sharing, Anita. That was a lovely story. I didn't know this one. Thank you for sharing. Very interesting.
For me, the general aspects, demonical qualities, how to and how not to. So those are the takeaway points. Like what kind of any action that we are trying to do with, that is more critical, and the sample of practical application in the appraisal cycles and stuff that that has been brought in today. So that was a key takeaway for me.
Thank you, Vijay.
I can go next. The whole thing is only Sri Krishna is perfect, and all of us are a mix of Daivi and Asurik Sampada based on the decisions we make. So that is the thing. And another thing which you mentioned was that inquiry into what is not, why we are not able to work towards our goals, like that will bring out, that is a point of yoga, and that will show us where our attachments lie. It's where we can, it reveals us what is lacking. So that is the key takeaway for me. And yes, thank you.
Attachments and what are our resistances?
Right.
What are our resistances? And to bring back to Anita was talking about, that we have to drop judgments. I think if one activity that we must do this week, and if we can continue to do this, is we've talked about, like, we can't give everything that is outside of us is a reflection of what is inside of us, right? तो हम इस दुनिया में इतना जजमेंट फेंकते हैं, जितने जजमेंटल हैं, जितना भी we raise others to high standards and all, सबसे पहले we apply all that to ourselves. All of us in varying degrees, okay? So degrees may change, but we all do one thing. We all are inside of us berating that 3 or 5-year-old inside of us. We all see ourselves as that 3-year-old, that 4-year-old, that 5-year-old kid who is being berated, constantly being criticized for what we are doing or not doing. Could have done this better, did not do this, why did you shout? This is not the right thing to do. You have to do so much Nam Jap, you can't even do Nam Jap, you can't even do this, you can't even do that. Look what you are doing now. We're constantly berating ourselves. So if we want to be in a space of non-judgment, which is where Ram exists, which is the point of dissolution of all our vikars, that to reach that space of non-judgment, we have to first learn to love that kid inside of us. We have to learn to forgive ourselves. We have to learn to be compassionate to ourselves, no matter where we are in our lives. And all of us, if we look at ourselves in the mirror, the first thing that will come to our mind is what we are not good at. Oh, my hair could have been better, did not wear this, did not do this right, too fat, too thin, too dark, too light, too frizzy, whatever, right? We only see the flaws and what can be better. We don't acknowledge ourselves for what we are amazing at. Okay, so we need to learn to love ourselves first, without which we will not reach that point of non-judgment, because all we ever do is criticize ourselves and berate ourselves and find things to improve upon. And that's exactly what we need to give up. We only need to place ourselves in a space of love for ourselves and ourselves alone. जब हम अपने आप को प्यार करना सीख जाएंगे, हम अपने आप को एक्सेप्ट करना सीख जाएंगे, हम अपने आप को फॉरगिव करना सीख जाएंगे, we will be able to do it to others. So I would like all of us to do this activity where we stand in front of a mirror and we look at ourselves and we accept ourselves and love ourselves and find that we are whole, complete, and perfect exactly the way we are. Wherever we are in our journeys, with whatever smattering of Devi and Asuri qualities we have.
Whole, complete, and perfect without losing 10 kgs.
Yes, without losing 10 kgs. Without achieving that next milestone of our life. Wherever we are in our lives, we are whole, complete, and perfect. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, right? We need to implement that to ourselves. Say that to yourself in your mirror every single day for the entire week. This is a homework for all of us. And visualize yourself as that 3-year-old who is scared, terrified of what is going on, does not know what is going on, trying to do her best. And actually physically hug that person and love that person and tell them that you are there for them no matter what. And feel it. Just strongly feel it when you say it. Do this activity every single day until the next satsang. And when we come back to the next satsang, I want every one of you to give me a takeaway on what that exercise felt like. You're not going to lose a single day without this exercise. This is very important. We're going to talk about our experiences and our takeaways in the next class. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
No, I think my takeaway, I'm just adding. So I think going back to basics, it's about purpose and power. Whenever you have anything, like, in a day to day, we see so many situation, and every time we do not have time to pause and kind of reflect, like, how do I address it? But yeah, but at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, we have to set our purpose and we have to set our bhav that whatever I am doing, like, honestly, the examples that I'm facing at the moment, be it with kids or the family or relationships, you're embroiled there the most, not outside. I think outside is pretty, for different people it's different, but outside I can manage my expectations around. But with the family, I think you're more embroiled, and that's where you have to understand that the purpose is good, the bhav needs to be addressed well, and that's it. Leave it after that. Whether they understand, whatever happens after that, because that's where, while I do not understand, the problem is not of self love, but the problem is that the expression of that love that you have to the other person, so that they understand where you're coming from. But probably it's their product, it's their way of understanding things, and they'll get it when they get it. At least you have done it with the right purpose and power, and then leave it at that point, because you can't do anything beyond it, and you can only have a little control over yourself rather than others. So yeah, I think, yeah. So again, focus back on purpose and power, and then leave the rest.
Very good. With family, all problems emanate from only two things, and only two things. And as we always said, that's the biggest Kurukshetra we have to improve ourselves. Only two things, which is what we need to become aware of. One is attachments, and that attachment is really strong with family, and we have a sense of ownership. Children are mine, spouse is mine, and we extend our sense of self with family. That what they do and who they are is a reflection of who I am and my choices of life. We are not able to keep that distinct. It becomes a part of my self image. So there is that sense of ownership, that sense of control that comes from it, and a huge amount of expectations. Every problem in our family and every problem in our relationships can be resolved if we become aware of where the issues are with respect to my attachments, where my attachments lie, where my sense of control lies, and where my expectations lie. If we can rationalize these, you will see the things becoming easier. But that's something, and I'm just saying that just as another reminder. I know you've been working on this aspect for like that's the part that you've been implementing this quite strongly. So it's very, very impressive. I think it'll happen. And teenage kids are never easy. They are the points of maximum growth for us. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll do our closing shlokas. Then we follow.
Okay, I'll get started. Om Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinara Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pakshantu Ma Kaschid Dukh Bhagavad. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Avishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Oh. Oh,